to Blowing Smoke with Twisted Rico. I'm your host, Steev Ricardo, coming to you from the New Alliance Music and Art Complex in Union Square, Somerville, Mass. Please welcome back to the engineering board, Dorchester's own, the one and only Herb Masiglio.
Ow!
It's great to have you back in the room, Herb. I missed you. We managed to get through 2 episodes without you. Last week's show with Mel Letterman and Michelle Wan was a pretty good one. Herb knows because he edited the whole thing marvelously. We have another great show planned for our listeners this week, as we will be welcoming, and this is a whole mouthful, ready? Musician, photographer, artist, designer, and film producer from the great town of Upton, Massachusetts, Duncan Wilder Johnson, who also just happens to have an office right down the hall here at New Alliance. Before we bring Duncan to the show, I want to thank our patrons, as I do every week, who have been supporting us on our Patreon page, which is located at patreon.com/Twisted Rico. Please consider coming aboard and supporting the show. Right now, I'm in the process of adding another tier to the page, which will get you a free Blowing Smoke with Twisted Rico t-shirt. If you're watching on video, you'll probably see that. It's printed by our sponsor, JLS Design. It's a shirt which features an old photo from 1985 of yours truly with Bobby Dahl from the Glam Rock Kings of Noise. The Glam Slam Kings of Noise, Poison. I almost said their logo wrong. I mean, they used to go by that. I had a shirt that said the Glam Slam Kings of Rock. I think I'm getting it wrong again, but I'll have to look it up. It was a long time ago, man, you know. So please stay tuned to that. I wanted to talk about a few things about the art reception that took place here this past week, because I had mentioned on the last show that my art was part of a group show with a bunch of local Boston-based artists, including Alvin Long, Dave Tree, Wayne Valdez, and a host of others. The reception was fantastic. Lots of cool people showed up, but I have to mention how awesome it was and how surprised I was when my old friend David Alex Barton and his wife Susan walked in the room. Mr. Barton was the singer-guitarist of the legendary Boston band The Outlets, who I'm proud to have signed to Enigma Restless back in 1985. We also worked together a few years later at Third Stone Music, and we played together in the wedding band in the Sissy Spacek William Peterson film Hard Promises. That's right, I was on the big screen. That was back in 1992. I was the bass player in the band. Dave was the singer and the guitar player. It's pretty awesome. We were able to catch up and have a long talk, and I re-extended and invited Dave to come on the show. And he reiterated to me how much he doesn't feel comfortable doing interviews. I tried to explain to him, I'm not going to interview you, Dave. I'm just going to have some fun and talk. So I think his wife, Susan, is going to convince him to come on. So then if that wasn't enough, Springer, the singer of SSD Control, shows up. And man, he was in, there's never a dull moment with Springer, if you know Springer. He was in rare form. I took a bunch of photos of him. It was a riot. In fact, I got one of him and Daryl Shepard of the band Test Meet, or you might know from the legendary stoner rock band Roadsaw, was also there. And him and Springer, I got together in a photo. If you haven't seen it, we'll have to post that on the podcast at some point. It's a good one. And then all the regulars were there, like Herb, Alvin, Dave Tree, Jarva. Jarva was looking, she had it going on, man. When she walked in the room, it was like, Busy Phillips? Oh no, that's Jarva. It was close. Nixie, you were? I didn't see you, Duncan.
Yeah, I wasn't there, man.
Oh,
I had a previous commitment.
You missed a fun time.
I've already heard.
Yeah, I'm
disappointed.
It was off the hook. I don't usually like to use that expression. I want to use it this time. And like I said before, this place is a great community for art, music, for people to hang out, and I just absolutely am proud to be part of the whole thing. And when I heard the opportunity would come up to record the podcast here, I was all over it. There was no way. So let's get Duncan in the conversation. Welcome to Blowing Smoke with Twisted Rico. How are
Thanks,
you, man?
man. Thanks for having me.
It's good to have you here. I wanted to talk about different things in your career, and I don't know if I got everything right in my introduction of all the different...
There's other things too, but who gives a fuck?
Plus you're married, right?
I'm married, yeah.
Children?
No kids.
You don't have time for
cats.
kids yet. 2 cats.
2 cats.
No, I'm not gonna. Every time someone brings up cats, I think about Angel City, my cat that passed away recently, and I start crying. It's not a good look for me on my podcast to cry about my poor cat.
I don't know, man.
But
it's good to be sensitive about cats.
I'm glad you have cats, though. You do wear a lot of different hats, as we mentioned. How do you shuffle all of this, and what is actually your main focus of what you're doing?
Artistically, right now it's photography and video. And then secondarily to that, it's my new band with Michelle, American Death Hoax.
I was going to bring that up.
Which we
American Death Hoax.
Yep, we were Death Hoax for about 4 months, and then we found another Death Hoax, even though we scrubbed the internet initially. And yeah, so we're still working on a record. We're not really ready to kind of launch yet, but we will be.
You were in the studio one day. I heard you guys in there rocking.
Yeah, were we mixing then?
I don't know.
Tracking. Maybe we're tracking.
I don't like to barge into studio recordings.
We did the initial tracking in like 2 days, and then there was a third day of bells and whistles.
Ethan? Is Ethan engineering?
Yeah, and then extra vocals and stuff. Oh no! So there was 2 days of main tracking. Then there was a day or two of vocals, and then I don't know. And then we did a day of bells and whistles, which I never really did before. But Ethan was like, think about it, blah, 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 and then so Michelle, Will, and I had some ideas. I mainly just had all my usual Worcester hardcore guy ideas, okay, gang vocal here and here and here and hand clap and out, so that's another big thing. And then my other thing I have coming up, I'm playing a show March 21st at Sally O'Brien's. I don't know if this is going to be out. Sally
O'Brien's, that's in Somerville, Mass, for our listeners around the country. Which band?
That's with my post-punk band, Post-Punk with Dunk. And,
what's the name of that band?
Post-Punk with Dunk, as far as we know. So it's.
We're going to talk about your cover band later. How many bands do you have going on right now?
I have one main band, and then I have 2 bands that play once a year. And that would be Iron Fisted, my Motorhead band that does Lemmy Fest, and then my Post-Punk with Dunk band, which plays shit from the late 70s, early 80s.
And your Descendents tribute band.
My Descendents band, yeah. So I have 3. I have 3 that play once a year, once every 2 years. Well, I have one main band that's original music that we all co-write.
We've been talking about having you on the show for a while, so I'm glad that you're here. Yeah. I know we share a lot of mutual interest for the genre that I like to refer to as popcore. The Descendants, Dag Nasty, Husker Du, whole era. Yeah. Now, I think, didn't you work at Wonder Drug?
Yeah, 3 years.
Is that how you got involved with the New Alliance?
Yeah, definitely.
How'd that happen?
Well, I graduated from Mass Art in 1999, and I was doing a lot of spoken word around then. I had already opened for Jim Carroll.
You did?
Yeah.
Wow.
I 3 times in total, but at that point, once.
Nice.
And then we made a record. We made a compilation spoken word record. Me and these 3 other dudes, Rich Mack and Clay Fernald, a.k.a. Clay Inferno, and Tony Flackett.
Oh, Clay!
Yeah, Clay.
Clay, that was the booking agent and was also the Humanoids.
He was in the Humanoids for the first,
I love
8
Clay.
years or something.
Great guy.
Yeah, awesome dude. Anyway, and so we'd put on a lot of shows together, and we were kind of we were basically doing the DIY punk rock thing, but with spoken word, because
that's cool.
I was really into Rollins and Jim Carroll and Jello Biafra and Jack Kerouac, and hadn't really found my own voice yet at that point, but was after it, and looked at it, did it like it was a band, because I had been in bands in high school and stuff, and it was it was a lot of it had to do with me being young, but it was very difficult because it was just 4 people to make a decision, and and I wasn't great with patience at the time, and so I kind of fell into the spoken word thing as an alternative to playing in a hardcore band.
You mentioned high school, and that means I have to mention Upton, Massachusetts.
Yeah.
And the main reason I've mentioned that is because someone that I worked with for a long time is also from Upton, David Minahan
Yeah.
from the neighborhoods.
Yeah, he went to high school with my aunt and uncle.
Really?
Yeah.
Now, what's that, like Blackstone Valley
No,
Tech or something
no,
like that?
that is in Upton. That's the vocational school. But we all went to Nipmunk, which
Nipmunk
at the
Regional.
time was in Mendon and is now in Upton.
Only us mass-grown people, like I'm from Webster,
Right.
would know that,
Yeah.
where Nipmuc is.
Yeah.
Because I'm from Webster, the home of the Nipmuc Indians,
Okay.
with the Great Lake, which I'll attempt to say, but I'm sure someone will tell me I say
Yeah,
it
yeah.
wrong. Webster Chargagagaga Man Chagabunga Mog. I know I said that wrong. It's 26 letters long. It means you fish on your side, I fish on my side. No one fishes in the middle. Nipmuc
No
Indians.
shit.
Yes.
I didn't know that part.
I never would have brought that up if you didn't bring up Nipmuc.
Well, it is my truth.
Nipmuc Regional High School.
So,
Wonder Drug.
so after graduating Mass Art, and the day after I graduated Mass Art, I opened for Jello Biafra in Chicago.
Wow.
So I was kicking ass, you know.
I didn't know any of this.
Yeah.
It's fantastic.
And I had a girlfriend who I'm also now married to. That's a whole other story.
Congratulations.
But we broke up. We broke up around then, and then didn't see each other for 10 years. So I had like a whole other life, and she did too. You know. So anyway, out of the heartbreak that I was feeling at the time, I got a job, my first job out of college, which was working at Unison, this photography lab in South Boston that doesn't exist anymore. And I got all my recordings together, and for what was going to be my first like solo record, which was called Heavy Metal Spoken Word, which has like 2 good bits on. Out of 5, I think there's 2 good bits on it. One is about going to see Slayer, and the other one is about this girl who. First of all, I talk about hardcore and Worcester and like the regional dance styles and all this and all the ridiculousness of it, and then I segue into this this experience I had where this girl literally put her mouth over my nose and like breathed into it. And the punchline was that I was having a nose job. So, and then I did that bit when I opened for Jim Carroll at Mass Art, and so it was like 500 people, so it's like this roaring laughter. It sounds fucking great, you know?
Nice.
Good for the ego. Good for the
Yeah.
22-year-old ego.
You got off to a really good start, man.
So
in
then,
the early days.
So then,
It's great.
I went to Ken because Ken was
Ken Samar, Wonder
Samar.
Drug Records.
Yeah, he was. I was still working at Unison, and he helped local artists, bands make CDs, and
Yes.
and that was my next thing that I was doing, and I brought it to him, and he mastered it, and then he offered to help put it out because he was like, "You work harder than any of the bands on my label." Spoken word, because of Henry Rollins, is like kind of hip right now, and I'll put it out with you, you know. And I did a tour, and I did the whole thing.
Nice.
And then they laid off everyone in my department at Unison at the photography lab because digital was taking over. So I'm an expert in several pieces of media that the digital revolution has destroyed, including film, photography, and the music industry. So
Thank you. Thanks for bringing that up.
So I in 2000 that record came out. I lost my job at Unison. Ken had an opening, and I worked for Ken for 3 years and learned all about the music industry as it was falling apart. So I learned all about radio. I learned all about distribution.
2000,
Yeah.
2003, around that time?
Yeah, 2000 to 2003. That was the 3 years.
That was the beginning of the end,
Yeah,
basically.
it was CD burning, and then MP3s, and then Napster, and then and it kind of went fast,
Yeah.
And I think I tend to agree with people when they say like, oh, the music industry, the leaders in the music industry, i.e. the major labels, could have embraced that thing and kind of rolled with it, like if you can't beat them, join them, but they tried to beat them instead of joining them, and I think that kind of that's the way that went, you know. So
I left A&M in 1997, and I think it wasn't much like a year after that or something like that that the company folded.
yeah,
And it was a label that had, Herb Albert and Jerry Moss started in the 60s,
yeah,
It was sad, I don't take it personally when people talk about how the industry screwed it up, because I know they kind of did, the labels.
I'm also,
But my heart was so into it because I worked for labels from 84 to 97, bigger labels. And when it all came crashing down, it's very sad.
I think, no matter what, you have to be accepting of the way that life is. So I accept it, you know. I'm just kind of like, that's just how it went,
Ken kept going for a while, though, because he helped me with some of my Red Car Records digital distribution.
Yeah, yeah. And he's a great person and dude. And
so
he's
that's
in my Motorhead band, too.
So that's when you met Alvin and everybody.
Yeah, I met Alvin.
That was at the Cambridge, right?
Yeah, it was in the Fenway.
Oh, you were down there.
Yeah.
Oh, I had an office there, but it was before you were there.
Okay.
It was 98.
Yeah, and so that time, that 2003, that's basically when I met everybody in the Boston music scene.
And then
everybody came to that office because everybody had to make a record. So
you moved to Cambridge with them, basically.
I helped them. I had already. I did not. By the time they moved, I think that was like 2005 when they moved into EMF, and I had started working for Reebok at that point. So after Wonder Drug, I took some time off. I had a heartbreak in my life. I was in love with a girl that broke my heart, and I went to Europe for a while.
They do that.
And then I came back, and Destruct-A-Thon was already a thing. D-Thon started when I was like 2000, 2001, like when I worked at Wonder Drug, that was the first time I recorded at New Alliance and all that kind of stuff. And yeah, so that was going on, and then I had a really bad construction accident in 2004. Was laid off with my dad, broke my pelvis, I broke my arm, I broke his leg. Shit. Yeah, that was gnarly. And then the music industry, the music community saved my ass with a bunch of shows that I basically produced them, because I already know how to do that. I learned that from Mass Art and the sim program at Mass Art and Wonder Drug and all my experiences. People were giving me shit like how come you're producing your own benefit shows? I'm like, dude, if you're a doctor, you're not going to put on your own Band-Aid. Like, give me a break, So I did that, and that helped out a lot. And and then I started working at Reebok, and I worked at Reebok for 9 years doing photo retouching day in, day out. And that Reebok gig really I learned a lot about fitness and diet and stuff. I did start doing CrossFit. I liked it.
That's why you're so buff now. You're a CrossFit guy.
Really, no, I'm not a buff guy anymore. But I do have to say, the people I met were really cool. It was a boring gig. I did Photoshop on shoes for 40 hours a week for 9 years. Right.
Good company,
I'm
though.
a Photoshop ninja, right? And then, just like Unison, one day they just laid off the whole department, and I tried to get another gig. Thought I'd be pretty successful with it because I worked at a big company for a long time. Could not get a gig to save my life. Just couldn't get arrested in the design scene in Boston at that time for whatever reason, and really thought about it and kind of had to reinvent myself. And I just said to myself, when I was at Reebok, there's people there that loved design, like we're fucking into it, and I would basically, my design skills are basically what I learned from my mom, who's a graphic designer, and making punk rock flyers and making my own records and posters and shit, so these people were like sleek, went to design school, designed sneakers, were into it, and I thought, what am I, besides talking on stage and being a guy that jumps off stage and like a maniac, like what am I really good at? And my answer was photography. I'm really good at photography. I went to Mass Art for photography. I love photography, and this, I've kind of learned this distinction lately. Like, I'm not in love with photographers. I'm in love with their work, but who they are, I'm kind of like, whatever. Like that could be a dick. That could not be a dick. But I mean, I'm just into I'm into their work. I'm into the
That's
prints,
cool.
you know. But with music, it's like oh, I'm interested. I'm not just interested in Fugazi. Like, I'm interested in what Ian MacKaye has to say and why. Like, you know,
You're
so
geeking out like me,
there's
man,
a
on
yeah
every little thing.
there's a thing about music and punk rock especially that I find like really authentic and community and a community of misfits and pushes boundaries and is politically minded and entrepreneurial and really thinks it's smart. And has its own community and its own like mix of politics and conversations and everything. And in photography, it's like I'm really more about like I just want to make really fucking great pictures, you know.
And you have, and you
Thank
have. I'm going to segue a little bit here.
Okay.
You made a great film about one of Boston's most notorious bands, Sam Black Church, and it's entitled "Leave Behind a Groove in the Earth." Can you see that, Herb? I'm a huge fan of music documentaries, and I absolutely love this documentary.
Thanks.
Tell us about how the whole project came together, and did it really take you 10 years
11.
to do it? 11 years. So tell me a little bit about how it all came together for you.
So a couple of reasons why it took me 11 years are A, I had no idea what I was doing. B, I was also in Destruct-A-Thon and another band called Kill It All Away, and then Destruct-A-Thon again during most of that time. And I was also operating on a very old eMac, an educational Macintosh, to like digitize all the stuff. So you know, you can only you took a VHS tape from the '90s and you digitize it, and you only get like 4 minutes at a time before the RAM just conks out. So a lot of
you
that,
had some technical things.
there was
you
technical
need to work
stuff.
out.
There was me like not having a clue how to make a movie, but that's the punk rock sort of thing, you know. like you don't have to be good at it; you just have to go and do it, you know.
Were you close to the band?
Well, I was a super fanboy as a high school.
Yeah.
In high school and college, and so I mean, the first day of ninth grade, this girl Erica Long said, "You're going to go see Sam Black Church at the WAG on
Ninth grade?
on
Got an early
on
start.
Saturday," and I was like, "I don't know who's that." Oh, I'd already seen like Eye for an Eye, and when I was 12, I got to say this story. So when I was 12 years old, I was in love with this girl in the back of the bus named Mary Beth Benina. We're friends. Anyway, she liked Whitesnake and Motley Crue and Poison and Aerosmith and shit like that. So I became an expert on that stuff. And I was into skateboarding, and I listened to fucking all this hair metal shit, right? And then my mom...
Hair metal shit, he called it. It's okay. I don't care. I won't take it personally.
And then...
Not that I'm the ambassador for the hair metal movement or anything like that. I
have a good Poison story. But
I just happened to be on the Sunset Strip in 1984.
You know? I can't fault you for any of that. And so my mom, who was a graphic designer in town in the 4 Point Channel at a company called Altman and Manley, like said to her coworker, "My kid's riding a Paul Peralta skateboard and listening to fucking, you know, Do This Like a Lady and shit." And he's like, "Oh, I should make him a mixtape." So he makes me this mixtape called Born to Skate. First song on it is Possessed to Skate by Suicidal Tendencies.
Oh, wow.
And this tape like changed my life. Like,
that
from
happened.
that moment on, it was like music is that powerful. It can like change.
Yes.
Especially at that point in someone's life. You know, when
You
12,
always
12 years
remember-
old, you're like,
Yeah.
oh my God.
You
And-
always remember the first time you heard a certain
Yeah.
thing. Like when I was 15, I remember hearing Black Sabbath for the first
Right,
time, and I was
right.
like, my life's never going to be the same after this, you know?
And it was not popular with my peers in like, you know, 6th and 7th grade, and so I felt like I had this like secret that, you know, and it was mine, and like, you know, now I look at it and be like, oh, that's called not having a marketing budget, you know, but like but at the time I felt like, oh, it's like, you know, nobody really knows about this. It's like it's an older thing, it's sort of a cooler thing, it's like a city thing, you know, because I grew up out in the woods, and you know, and then it turns out my aunt is really into it, so I took all of her 12 inches. Also, I'm into like the Cure and the Sex Pistols and the Circle Jerks and Black Flag and the Repo Man soundtrack,
Education.
all this shit, you know. by 7th grade, my hair is spiked. I broke my arm skateboarding the summer before, and I just copied tapes for a living. And and just got really into exploited and all this stuff. While everyone else is into I'm raw bass and I'm here to get down. They're all into that, and I'm into Husker Du and shit. And they're like, who the hell is Husker Du? Then Public Image Limited put out 9 around then, and I got to see Pill on my 13th birthday at the Orpheum.
You got an early start, man.
Yeah,
I'm impressed.
I'm fucking into it, and then I discovered that it happens in my backyard. This hardcore thing, punk rock, which I didn't know was hardcore yet. I thought it was go to the slam dance show, and I saw Eye for an Eye, Said and Done, Third Degree, and Funny Wagon before they became Kingpin at the Upton Grange, and these older kids, who are also into skateboarding and BMX bike riding, they had a band called Neo Cerebral Subculture. And
That's a cool name.
And that band became Foe, who were a popular Worcester band in the early '90s, which means Friends of Ed, and the Ed is Ed McNamara, by the way. So we're all friends.
Really?
Of Ed. Yeah.
Wow.
He hates being told about that. He's like, I'm never gonna live it down. I'm like, dude, it's the greatest fucking teenage punk rock story ever, And
the Worcester scene.
Yeah, and so I was into the local hardcore thing. I grew up so in high school I became friends with the kids in Overcast.
Oh yeah.
Who became Shadows Fall and Switch Engage and all that. So I was smoking weed in the woods with the dudes in Overcast and listening. They turned me on to Black Sabbath and Slayer and all that stuff. And then and so yeah, I would go to local shows, and Sam Black Church was this weird thing. I saw them somewhere around 9th or 10th grade, and I was I was pretty sure I was 15 years old.
Had you already heard of Bad Brains before
No.
you saw Sam Black Church? No.
No, I heard Bad Brains in 11th grade, because I got into
But
reggae.
you knew Sam Black Church before.
Yeah,
Bad
and I was into the
Brains.
Bosstones a lot. So
Did you put the connection together once you saw Sam Black Church? Because they're very influenced by Bad Brains.
It wasn't until the thing is that I got into ska, and then I got into reggae, and I was some kid in 10th or 11th grade gave me a Bad Brains tape, but I would just fast forward to the reggae song.
Really?
So I would only listen to the reggae song. So I didn't get into the hardcore thing because my life is definitely a series of obsessions, and there was a reggae obsession at one point, and I was just into the reggae stuff, and it wasn't until much even later than that, I'm going to say probably even college, that I started listening to the heavy Bad Brain stuff, and started kind of going oh wait a minute, all the Reignition, the Eye Against Eye, and then Rock for Light. I kind of found some of those bands that kids got into, other kids that are my age that got into stuff the same time I did. When they were in junior high, they heard the Misfits, but I didn't hear the Misfits until I was 22. So there's certain bands that I kind of got out of sequence that most people got into certain other sequence.
I think that happens to a lot of us.
I didn't hear I heard Minor Threat and Dead Kennedys and the Circle Jerks, but I didn't hear the Cro-Mags until probably sometime at Mass Art, and because you hang out with the people I hang out with, they there's certain sort of staple things that they're oh yeah, Motorhead, the Cro-Mags, the Bad Brains, all that kind of stuff. Slayer. I was into Slayer. I didn't get into Metallica until I was about 25. The girl that I was in love with got me into Metallica. And
Duncan Wilder Johnson's all over the place, man.
Yeah,
I can't have. I don't even know why I wrote a script for this show, because I still don't know why he made the documentary, but I'm sure we'll get to it eventually.
Okay, so the local thing is happening, right? So I'm going to the local things. I'm trying to have a band. I had a band in high school called After the Fact. We played at the Espresso Bar a lot.
I remember the Espresso Bar.
We opened for Sam Black Church at St. John's Gym.
Can I just tell you about the Espresso Bar for a second? 3.5 Girls, the first band I ever managed.
Whom I love, by the way.
They were awesome band.
That's how I met you.
Oh.
We'll talk about that in a second. So anyway, 3.5 Girls.
They were part of the
Espresso Bar.
hardcore scene, you know. and they played a show out there. It was a big show with a bunch of bands, and there was a bad, ugly incident that happened, and this guy ended up getting beat up by the bouncers. I got deposed, got a deposition because they thought I was one of the promoters because I managed the band, and the guy sued the club.
Espresso bar.
Yeah,
Ooh,
but I
really?
actually took the side of the club because he started the fight. This guy, he was just getting out of control in the pit, and that's what I remember the most about the Espresso Bar. But I used to love that place
I hung
because
out
it was
there a lot.
no alcohol, but it was always packed. Like kids would show up, and Worcester had a really good scene at that point. I was working with Chillum. Eric's band.
Yeah, Eric.
And
Eric rules.
So I spent a lot of time there, but I didn't mean to hijack your story. But I remember I actually go to that building all the time because my friend Dave Spaz, who's in the Liars, and he's in Little Big Wheel. They rehearse in that building. I was just there the other night.
Wow.
There's a lot of other things in that building. I don't know which room used to be the Espresso Bar.
There were two. There were two Espresso bars in that same building.
Yeah. It's like the Auburn-Worcester line, right?
Yeah.
Go ahead. I'm sorry. So you were there.
Yeah.
I ruined your story.
Hung out there a lot. Anyway, as time has gone on, I've always sort of like had bands or done spoken word or been this like local / touring punk guy.
Yeah.
And somewhere there was Destruct-A-Thon had a hiatus, and I had another project with the drummer at the time called Kill It All Away with Eamon Pacheco, and we made an EP. And on the idea of the EP was we had guest vocals on every song, so there's 5 guest vocalists. One of them is Jet from Sam Black Church. Now, also previous to this, I had met all the dudes in Sam Black Church because I worked at Wonder Drug, and I wrote the intro liner notes to the double disc greatest hits thing.
Right.
And which is basically based upon hanging out with JR. It's all JR stories, mainly. And then a lot of photos. The
drummer of Sam Black Church.
And then a lot of photos from Ben and stuff. And then one day, Jet had called Ken because Ken had just bought a condo and said, "Hey, it's the summer, and I usually do construction in the summer because it's off of my after-school thing, and let me know if you need any help at your condo." He's like, "Yeah, I don't need any help right now." And he had just moved to Milford, Mass, next to Upton.
Route 16.
Yep, 140, Route 16, 495. Get after it. Anyway, and I was like, "Oh, really? Like that? The lead singer of my favorite band needs a construction gig." So I called my dad, who's a carpenter, and he's now the building inspector in Upton. And I was like, "Yeah, Dad, do you need any help this summer? That band Sam Black Church, the singer lives in Milford and needs a gig." So I got the guy a gig.
Wow.
For the summer. And he became friends with this other guy, Chip Kent, that my dad works with, who's a bicycle fanatic. And so Jet and Chip are big bicycle people. And before I had that construction accident, I did work with Jet for a summer, And
you got to know him.
Got to know him and got to goof off and recite Monty Python and the Jerky Boys and stuff all summer, and it was really a cool experience. And then he sang on that record, and in that session he said to me, I can't remember all the stories, but if we got a case of beer and all those dudes in a room, we could tell all these tour stories. And I was like, oh, the fanboy in me that read On the Road and Get in a Van
and that kind of
was oh, that'd be awesome.
So that's when it went off in your head to do the documentary.
Sorta, and then so. But one of the things I learned in SIM and Mass Art, Studio for Related Media, was that the medium shouldn't dictate the idea. The idea should dictate the medium. And I was like, that's not who wants to. This is before podcasting was a big thing.
Right.
I was like, who wants
Is it a big thing? Are we a big thing now?
Podcast is they're fucking everywhere, man. But at the time I was like, who wants to listen to a goddamn interview disc with Sam Black Church? Me, and that's probably about it.
Me too, actually.
And I was like, it'd be better as a video. It'd be more like a storytelling thing if it was a video. And then my next thought was, you don't know who the hell Sam Black Church is. You have to say that. So that was why I kind of...
You did a great job, man.
Thank you. Made the doc, because I had to kind of say, this is who Sam Black Church is, and this is why you should care. And then this is what happened to them. Well, and to answer the question of why weren't they huge, I had to kind of try to answer that, which is not totally answerable. And then at the end of the DVD, like in the '90s they had like the hidden track, you know what I mean, like 30 minutes after like the end of Nevermind, or they just be like making noise or whatever. So I basically did that like it's like a '90s
That was
record.
good.
You know,
I like how you did that.
So it's like hidden tracks, and also the other nerd thing about it is that they'd often end the shows with this song called Locked Unit, which is basically one riff. So I used that as the thing. And then it's just 45 minutes of them telling ridiculous tour stories.
Yeah, I like that. I'm not trying to speed you up here, but really good. I just wanted to mention, though, the interviews that you did were fantastic. When I saw Dr. No in there, I was like, how did he get Dr. No? And the other thing I wanted you to comment on, besides the interviews, was, did you ever actually get to speak in person to Curtis Casella from Tang Records? People that don't know why I'm bringing him up, you'll have to watch the documentary or do a little research, but Sam Black Church was signed to Tang Records, and then Geffen was interested in them, and there were complications, and the deal never happened, and a lot of people blame Curtis for it. Curtis is a friend of mine. I've known him. We were in radio together in the early 80s, at WICN in Worcester, believe it or not.
Oh, cool.
And, I've known him for a long time. I know there's a lot of problems about the way he does business and whatnot. But did you ever actually speak to him? Because you used quotes.
Yes, I did speak with him. So, first of all, I'm not going to shit talk Curtis. I buy a lot of his records.
You don't have to. I don't want you to, anyways.
And
I'm not bringing it up.
I'm a big Box Stones fan.
Yeah, I like Curtis too. So Lemonheads.
And I don't really know him well. He was always kind of like explained to me as like this like hard to work with person, and according to Sam Black Church, like he kind of ruined their chances. I did speak with him on the phone a few times, and he didn't want to do an on-camera interview. He only wanted to do those. He's like, send me the questions, and I'll give you the answers. So it's only text. And then as I got further and further into the documentary, I really wanted him to kind of like say his case. Like, this is what everyone's saying.
You let him have his.
I'm
word.
like, what do you like? But honestly, like he ignored me for like 6 months to a year, and it was only by happenstance that like I finally got like the answer to kind of move on without him, which was that, I think it was as a TT's, and talking to Barry Height, he's like, "How's your Sam Black thing going?" I was like, "Oh man, I'm waiting on Curtis." So he just texts him.
Barry Height
and Curtis was like, "What are you talking about?" He's like, he's like, "Yeah, I'm here with Duncan. He says he's trying to get a hold of you for the Sam Black thing." He's like, and Curtis said something to the effect of, "Oh, I thought it was really negative, and I don't want to be involved." And I was like, "Well, you could have told me."
Right.
So I had to move on without him, I had to find some people who could say some cool things about Curtis, which his employees. Cornelia,
yeah, they were nice,
and
they were very
Chris
nice in the video.
We're like, no, it's the best job I ever had. Like, I really.
Cornelia was with him for a long time too.
Yeah, I wish Spore had a really good experience on Tang with Curtis. I didn't know that when I made the doc. I found that out much later, and I kind of wish that I knew that so I could.
Chris Negrete comes around often, the drummer of Spore. He was also the drummer of Caged Heat. And Mona. We just had Mel Letterman on last week, who played in Victory at Sea with Mona from Spore. Yeah, I think they did pretty well at. A lot of bands have done well at Tang.
Yeah. So.
I like the label.
Anyway. If I had my druthers, he would have been in it more. I would have liked to have his opinion on it. I do have to confess, I did shit talk about him on a Facebook post, and I had to recant because I'm not here to stir shit up, and I know for a fact that the Sam Black Church guys are fucking water under the bridge. We've moved on in life,
Curtis and I have been friends for a long time, but we've had some issues here and there, but we're still friends. I mean,
I wish him well. I don't have a. I'm old now.
It's a label that's been around for a long, long time, and you have to give anyone credit that's still lasting at a record label.
Yeah.
We're gonna play a song right now because we're gonna move along here. we're going to play a track from your band Destruct-A-Thon from the record Es Muerte.
Es Muerto.
Muerto.
Because
Here we
it was
go
supposed to be
again.
Destruct-A-Thon is dead. Because we broke up.
Yeah, it would,
Then we came back
actually,
to life.
technically, it was called Es Muerto 2001/2004. Oh,
True. Yeah.
here we go. We got.
One, I write it for my home. I write two, I write it for the friends. I write three, I write it for the family. I write four, I write it for the money. And I write five, I write it for the career. I write six, I write it for the work. I write seven, I write it for the spirits. I write eight, I write it for the assets. And I write the squares, I try to keep it together. I run the squares, I try to keep it together. I run the squares, I try to keep it together. I run the squares, I try to keep it together. I write five, I write it for the career. I write six, I write it for the work. I write seven, I write it for the spirit. I write eight, I write it for the assets. I write nine, I write it for the love. It's going down, it's falling from above. I read them all, right to 10. It's what I need, not just the amen. Let's go.
That was 9 squares from the album Es Muerto. Did I say it right that time?
I thought it was Es Muerto, but
2001, 2004. I have to mention, I watched some of the videos that were on the enhanced CD, and I loved it when you came out on stage and you had a Dag Nasty Wig Out at Dead Coast t-shirt on, because, you know, I'm a huge Dag Nasty fan. And
shout out to Andre Stupid, who gave me that t-shirt.
Cool.
I didn't get him anymore, so I was like, yeah, I'm fine.
I used to have that shirt, but like many of my old cool rock t-shirts, it was confiscated by one of my ex-girlfriends. I'm not going to mention any names, but
that happens.
Destruct-A-Thon only lasted like about 4 years.
No, it's like an on and off thing for 9 years, and we played 118
9
shows.
years. Wow.
118 shows,
And,
one East Coast tour, and we played the Rumble, the last WBCN Rumble. In
oh, nice. And Michelle Morgan, who played with you in Destruct-A-Thon, you mentioned earlier that you two have a project going now.
Yeah, she's the other guitar player.
American
Death Hoax.
American Death Hoax.
Like a
cool.
celebrity Death Hoax.
Awesome. I just wanted to give your band a plug.
Thanks.
And I also wanted to mention this, too, before we move on to a little fun segment I have for us. You mentioned to me that you made a video for the Boston garage rock band Justine and the Unclean.
I made a few videos for them, actually.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
And
three.
so you're doing a lot of videos for bands, because if bands wanted to get a hold of you to do videos, what would, you know, because...
Just email me. Bands get 15% off, by the way.
Nice.
Because I know what it's like to be in a band.
Yeah, I highly would recommend if there's any bands out there
Yeah.
because the work I've seen you do on this,
Thanks.
and you know you're really good.
Thank you.
All right, so it's time to have some fun. So you and I both share a love for the form of music that I like to refer to as popcore, especially the Descendents. In fact, I know you're in a Descendents cover band because you told me that, which is the coolest thing ever. I can't believe I missed the show, but I want to. When did you become a fan of the Descendents? I mean,
Probably around Everything Sucks.
Cool.
Again, another one of those bands that like people my age when they're in junior high, they got into the Descendents, you know, and I was into the Minutemen and like Gang of Four and stuff, but I didn't hear the Descendents for some reason. It's also like this is also pre-internet, so the whole thing is like a treasure hunt.
Yep.
You know, and who knows what.
You'd have to go to Newberry Comics and flip through the shelves to find bands. That's how it used to be.
I remember like kind of
or
going
fanzines, college radio. Things have changed, man.
Yeah, you go to Newberry Comics and you're like, who are the Cro-Mags? You know, who is Agnostic Front?
I love that you're a fan of that band. I think I told you this story once, but I'll have to tell you again. When I was working at Enigma Records, or tell everyone I should say, when I was working at Enigma Records, one of my bosses, Wes Hind, said to me, "This guy Mike's coming in. He's going to bring you a Descendants record. He's going to want you to sign this written piece of paper. It's going to be the agreement. Don't worry, it's all cool with me." And I'm like, okay, because I had just started Restless Records under the Enigma umbrella. And I'm like, I heard of the Descendants, because this is 1985, so they were around.
Yeah, Milo Goes to College is like 82.
Yeah, they were around, but they switched members a lot in the early days. So he came in, and I'm sitting there, and all of a sudden I look, and Mike Watt is the Mike, and I'm like, "You're Mike Watt," and that was the day we met. It was
Double
Mike.
Niggas on the Dime.
It was. I just saw the Minutemen, man. You know, I'm so happy to meet you.
Was
guys.
D Boone still alive?
Yeah. Oh yeah. This is 85, I think it was, something like
Had they
that.
played with REM yet and stuff?
That I
They've
don't
done
know.
Yeah.
I saw the Minutemen 3 times.
Really?
Yeah. I saw them. They played one of the most notorious shows I ever went to. It was Suicidal Tendencies, SSD Controlled. Who's the other band? Oh man, I'm forgetting. The Minutemen, and the opening band was the Red Hot Chili Peppers.
Holy shit.
That was the last show SSD ever played. It was in LA. It was the show when they came out and they weren't hardcore anymore.
Yeah,
and they did
slow.
that in front of the suicidal crowd. And I was actually scared for them, but they were pretty tough dudes. No one was going to mess with them, but it was crazy. The other time I saw the Minutemen, one other time was with Fear, the Circle Jerks, and Fishbone.
Wow.
It was at the LA street scene, and a riot broke out during the Circle Jerk set, and skinheads showed up, and there was a big brawl there. And the third time was a club show at Club Lingerie, I believe, on Sunset Boulevard in Hollywood. So I was already knew who Mike was, and I was all psyched. But it was so cool because we did a contract on a yellow line piece of paper.
Yeah, that's awesome.
For the Enjoy record.
Yeah.
Which I fell in love with the minute I heard it. And I'm going to segue with this other story here, because ironically, Doug Carrion was the bass player of the Descendents at that time. And a few years later, it was Doug and I that choreographed the signing of Dag Nasty to Giant Records. Of course, I had the blessings of Ian Mackay, who I called on the phone and basically asked him if he would mind if I signed the band.
One of my favorite people in, I don't know him very well or anything, but I've corresponded with him, and he's one of my favorite people in
I've only talked to him on the phone.
For lack of a better term,
I never got to talk to him in person, but on the phone we talked several times about that. And then I went on to put out the All Ages Show EP, and then the Field Day record. And Doug was in that band too, and I just wanted to mention that. So for fun, I thought it would be cool for us to each list our 5 favorite Descendant songs.
Okay. I don't know if I can keep it to 5.
Which is not easy to do because I have a long list. I'm going to do mine first because I'm the host, and I'm going first.
Yes, dear.
I hope. Thank you. Number 1, Get the Time from the Enjoy album, which was written by Milo. Number 2, We from Everything Sucks is probably the greatest love song ever written by Milo. Number 3, Thank You by from Everything Sucks, which is Carl Alvarez wrote it about all the bands that he loved. And then I'm the One, also from Everything Sucks, is a great record. And then Coolidge from the All
definitely.
record, Carl Alvarez wrote that too. And then a tie for number 5, Silly Girl from I Don't Want to Grow Up, which was written by Bill Stevenson. I also love the cover of Wendy, the Beach Boys cover on the Enjoy record.
See, I want to do that too, but I want to sing it as Julie left me alone, because our bass player's name is Julie.
Nice.
But we haven't done it yet.
So, so you're in a Descendents cover band, so you should be able
Bandage.
to. Yeah, Bandage.
I have a list. I have a list here of basic. It's called Bandage. Everything I'd want to play, and it's 57 minutes, so we're not gonna have time for that. But all right, so have you done your 5?
I did 7 actually.
Did you do 7?
I'm not good at keeping my list down to like the required number. Herb knows that. I always have to have a few extras. I love the Descendents. I didn't really spend a lot of time with I Want to Grow Up or All, but I enjoy
Okay.
And Everything Sucks. And the last 2 records they put out, I know very little about. But those 2
They're good.
records, Enjoy and Everything Sucks, are 2 of the greatest punk popcore records ever made. Ever.
Okay, I like the song Everything Sucks. That's like it never ceases to like get me
You
going.
do all these songs in your cover band?
Do we? I don't think we did Everything Sucks yet. We've done On the One, but so I love everything. Yeah, Everything Sucks Today. That's the fucking greatest. Coolidge, I love Coolidge. I love opening with Coolidge. Actually, we open with All. No, we play Coolidge.
Which, for anyone that doesn't know, is like 1 second long.
Yeah, and we end with No All, which is 2 seconds long. 2 hits. No and All. And then I love Bikeage.
You get to have more than 5 because he only used 2 seconds up in his top 5, so you can go to 7.
I love Bikeage. I love Bikeage a lot. I love Clean Sheets.
That's Enjoy. Is that Enjoy?
Clean Sheets is
Sour Grapes is Enjoy. I almost put that on my list.
I think that's Milo Goes to College, but I have it on my thing here from the Summary record that SST put out, which is a summary. That's the movie.
We're geeking hard on the Descendants right now.
And new shit. I really like that song American. Have you heard that one?
I've heard some of the they only put out like 6 records, I think, total, right? Well, the live Hall Raker.
Yeah, Hall Raker.
Yeah, that's
and then it's
great.
also Liveage too.
Yeah.
Which they do Wendy.
So there's not very many records, I don't think. I don't know.
I also love This Place Sucks.
Oh yeah.
That's a great song. Yeah.
Well,
This place sucks. Da-na-na-na-na-na-na.
Is that the
Milo talking about, just like hating his like biochemistry job, or whatever.
One last thing I have to mention. I'm going to ask you this question because Bill Stevens regarded as one of the great punk rock drummers. Don't you think it's about time he's regarded as one of the greatest drummers ever? What a drummer, man!
The thing that
Black
really annoys
Flags.
me
He was
about
in
him
Black Flag too, and he was great in Black Flag.
is like you close your eyes, right? And I play. Trust me, I play a lot of air drums, so I know what I'm talking about. But when you close your eyes, you think that he is like just like an octopus of like wailing away, and then you watch him, and he's like all wrist. He's like whatever. No,
But he does
no
those
big
rolls,
deal.
man.
7 days a week. And then like I saw him play in Flag, and I was like, same thing.
You saw Flag.
Same thing.
Oh.
And I was like, he's playing like My War, and he's just like, whatever.
So this was a Keith Morris,
problem.
Stephen Egerton, the
Yeah.
version that just went out. Oh,
So the
Dez
Paradise Show,
Cadena? I
Dez-
would have loved to have
Dez-
seen that.
Yeah, Dez, Keith walks off, Dez does like 4 songs, and then Keith does like Rollins stuff. He does like My War and shit, I don't think they did Black Coffee, but they definitely do My War.
I watched.
Which is the Bill era. But all those dudes, like I'm reading, as slowly as possible, I'm reading yet another Black Flag book, and like all those dudes, like they're literally from the same neighborhood. So
I gotta tell you one.
I got to see Chuck Dukowski play bass, and that was fucking awesome, man.
I'm gonna go all the way back to Enigma and tell you that for a while, every Wednesday, West Hine and myself from Enigma would meet up with Greg, Chuck Dukowski, and Joe Carducci, and we'd have Mexican food and drink beers, and just the 2 labels would get together and just
Shoot the
hang out
shit.
and talk. So I knew Greg and Chuck from hanging out and drinking beer and eating Mexican food.
I feel like I don't know Joe Carducci that well, but I do feel like Greg Ginn and Chuck Dukowski are like fucking secret American geniuses.
I don't think they get along anymore.
I don't think they do, but I don't think Greg gets along with many people.
He is a genius.
I have met him, and I was like, dude, I love your guitar playing. He's like, oh, thanks, man. You know, but
yeah, they are really great at what they did. I mean,
he's weird too, man. He's like, you know, he's either on or off, all atonal weird shit. You know.
I knew we'd be all over the place with this interview, but I don't have a problem with it. I loved it.
The whole SST thing that like. The Black Flag, Saccharine Trust, Circle Jerks,
Minutemen,
Husker Du, Dinosaur Jr. too, and then like the other sort of like LA bands like the Fear, Fishbone, World,
SST is a great
Germs,
label.
X.
I remember when I moved to California in January 4th, 1984. The first address
they put out
I had
a couple of Bad Brains records.
Yeah, I Against I. The first place I lived was right on the Redondo Hermosa Lawndale line. And I'm Lawndale, SST Records is in Lawndale, and then I was part of that whole.
Oh man,
brilliant.
I'm jealous.
I loved it. Well, listen, man,
I should have been
thank
10
you.
years older.
Thank you very much for coming down the hall. And, ladies and gentlemen, Duncan.
I like that.
You had a band called Punker Dunker or something. I don't know. Duncan.
Punk with Dunk.
There you go. Duncan Wilder Johnson, thanks you very much.
Thanks for having me, man.
Appreciate it.
And thanks to Herb for engineering.
Herb's the best. I want to thank our sponsor, JLS Design, and our friends over there, Dave, Ron, and Jillian. They do custom screen printing and embroidery. A great place for bands to get their T-shirts. If you're watching on the video, you can see the Blowing Smoke with Twisted Rico shirt. You can reach them at jlsdesignprinting.com, jlsdesignsales@gmail.com. If you contact JLS and tell them we sent you, you'll get a 10% discount on anything you make. So consider doing that. That was a fast and furious show. I loved it. If you want to get in touch with me, my email is twistedrico@gmail.com. You can also find me on Instagram @twistedrico, and also find us on YouTube, where we put some of these shows up on video because Herb likes to put them up, and they're pretty cool, Herb. So we'll keep doing it. And Patreon page, which I mentioned, it's only $1 a month if you want to sponsor us. This is Blowing Smoke with Twisted Rico. I'm your host, Steve Ricardo.
Can I give my little where to find me thing?
Yeah, sure. You'll be the first guest to ever interrupt me in my final paragraph, but it's okay. Go ahead.
So if you want to check out my photography or video or hire me, you can go to dwjcreative.com, and I'm on all the social media stuff, and I post on Instagram a lot. And then
what's your Instagram?
I have two at DWJ Creative.
Okay.
And then if you want to check out any of my music stuff, it's thrashachusetts.com. And you can find that on Instagram at thrashachusetts617.
Thank you. And I highly recommend Duncan. Otherwise, you wouldn't be here. Once again, this is Blowing Smoke with Twisted Rico. I'm your host, Steve Ricardo. Until the next time we say goodbye, we really, 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 really love Busy Phillips around here. Hopefully she's out there listening. Keep the rock and roll alive. Thank you.